The Centurion of the 17th Legion, a tale of defeat in the Teutoburg Forest. The voice of a man long gone, yet not forgotten, echoes through the ages. It is the voice of the Centurion of the ill-fated 17th Legion, recounting the tragic events that led to its destruction in the Teutoburg Forest. In his tale, the Centurion relives the horror of a massacre that saw 3 Roman legions, under the command of Publius Quinctilius Varus, meet their doom at the hands of the Germanic tribes in 9 AD. The forest, thick with shadows and blood, becomes the stage of an ambush that would forever alter the course of Roman history. This is the story of betrayal, pride, and a catastrophic defeat, the story of the end of the 17th Legion. This narrative is sponsored by Polly Speaks For You. At Polly Speaks For You, we are driven by a passion for empowering individuals, particularly those with disabilities or learning challenges, through innovative text-to-speech and voice recognition technology. Polly Speaks For You is more than just software. It's a lifeline that bridges the gap, enabling people to express themselves and connect with the world in impactful ways. By merging the richness of history with cutting-edge technology, Polly Speaks For You shows how every voice, whether preserving the past or shaping the future, has the power to inspire. Now back to the story. It began with confidence. The Centurion's voice says gravelly, laden with bitterness. We were Romans, after all, invincible, or so we thought. The 17th Legion, along with the 18th and 19th, marched into the forests of Germania under Varus' command, blind to the trap waiting for us. Arminius, the cursed name still haunts me. He was one of our own, a trusted ally. We believed he fought for Rome. We were wrong. His words linger in the air, heavy with the weight of the past. The echoes of marching feet, the clinking of armor, and the ever-present quiet of the forest seem to come alive, pulling the listener into the Centurion's memory. He continues, his tone reflecting the confusion and disbelief of those days. The rain, he says, almost as if it still falls upon him. It never stopped. It fell in sheets, turning the ground beneath our sandals into mud, making every step heavier. The trees were too close, too thick. There was no room for our disciplined formations. The shields that once felt so strong in our hands now felt like dead weight, the rain sliding off their metal faces like mocking tears from the gods. A long, pained silence follows. The Centurion's voice trembles with emotion as he recalls the events leading up to the ambush. We should have known. The signs were there. He continues, his words growing more intense. Arminius, that treacherous dog, led us deep into this cursed land under the guise of protecting the empire. He disappeared just before the storm hit. His tribes, emerged from the forest like shadows, and in an instant, we were surrounded. The ambush began. The tension in his voice rises as he relives the chaos. It was chaos. Arrows rained down from above, slamming into men before they even realized we were under attack. Javelins followed, sharp, merciless spears from unseen enemies in the trees. I remember barking orders, but no one could hear me over the cries of the dying. The men panicked. Legionaries, Romans, broke rank. Some fled, but there was nowhere to go. We were trapped, pinned in by the forest itself. The Centurion's breath catches, and for a moment, the air seems thick with the blood and fear of that fateful day. We tried to form a line, to regroup, but the Germans knew their land well. They hit us where we were weakest, darting in and out of the trees, never showing their full numbers. It wasn't a battle, it was a slaughter. And we, the proud 17th, were powerless. I lost count of how many men I saw fall. Their bodies piled up, slick with mud and blood, turning the ground beneath us into a graveyard before we even realized we were dying. His voice grows heavy with regret as he recalls the moments when hope seemed to slip away. I thought I could hold them, he confesses, his voice filled with the sting of failure. I ordered my men to form a last line of defense around our eagle standard, the symbol of Rome's might. If we could save that, maybe, just maybe, we could survive. But the Germans, they knew the significance. They were like wolves, circling, taunting, waiting for us to break. His voice softens, haunted by the memory of the look in his men's eyes. I remember the look in my men's eyes. Fear, resignation. They were Romans, yet they knew this was the end. One by one, the Germans picked us off. It wasn't a battle of honor. It was slaughter. I watched my men die, heard their screams as they fell beneath spears and axes. I could see it in their faces. Most of them were still boys, not long from their homes, dreaming of glory. There was no glory here. The centurion's voice grows quieter still, the weight of his memories seeming to drag him into the depths of the past. And then I felt it, the sharp bite of an arrow piercing my side. The pain was like fire. I fell, clutching at the wound, trying to rally the men one last time. But it was too late. My vision blurred, and I could hear the Germans cheering as they tore down our standard, ripping the heart of Rome from our grasp. His voice quivers with fury and sorrow as he recalls his final moments. I died there, in the mud and rain, surrounded by the bodies of my brothers in arms. We, the 17th Legion, were no more. The 18th and 19th, gone as well. The forest was littered with our dead, our armor stripped, our weapons taken. We were left to rot beneath the trees, forgotten. There is a long, painful silence, as if the centurion struggles to speak the final truth. When he does, his voice is filled with bitterness and despair. Varus fell on his sword before the Germans could take him. Coward. He spared himself the dishonor of capture. But what of us? We, who died fighting, who gave everything for Rome. What did we earn? He pauses, and then his voice drops to a whisper. Nothing but silence. The emperor ordered that our names never be spoken again. The 17th, 18th, and 19th erased from the legions. Our defeat was too great, too humiliating. We were left behind, forgotten by the empire we had bled for. No burial, no honor. Just the forest, the cursed Teutoburg Forest, where our bones lay still. The centurion's voice fades, but the weight of his words lingers in the air. The story of the 17th Legion is not just one of defeat, but of betrayal, of hubris, and of the tragic cost of trusting the wrong allies. In his final words, the centurion leaves a stark warning. Remember us, remember our fall, for it is not the might of Rome that will preserve her, but the wisdom to learn from her failures. We were once invincible, but no longer. The forest claimed us, and Rome moved on. The centurion's voice lingers, heavy with the weight of the past. The days before the ambush were no better, he mutters. There were signs, whispers in the trees, unnatural silences where there should have been the sounds of life. And yet, we marched on. We trusted in Varus. We trusted in the discipline of the legions. Rome had stretched its arms far, into lands that had no love for the empire, but we believed our power could not be matched. How foolish we were. A bitter laugh escapes him. The march had been long. The forests of Germania are nothing like the wide, open fields of Gaul or the sunlit coasts of Hispania. They are dark, thick with trees that seem to press down on you. Even our veterans, men who had fought in the scorching sands of the east, looked uneasy. The path narrowed, the rain turned the ground beneath us to sludge, and morale began to crack. Still, we thought we were invincible. The arrogance of Rome blinded us. The centurion's voice grows sharper, more intense, as he recalls the betrayal. Arminius, he played us like fools. He was trusted, a Romanized German, a friend of Varus. But he was only ever a wolf, lying in wait to tear us apart. I remember his face when he left us, promising to return with reinforcements. His eyes. I should have seen the truth in his eyes, the lie beneath the surface. But by the time we realized what had happened, it was too late. His tribes descended on us like beasts. He pauses again, as though struggling to remember the chaos of those fateful moments. It wasn't a battle, the centurion repeats, his tone dark. It was a massacre. A Roman legion fights best in open ground, where we can form our shield walls, where our discipline and training can overwhelm the enemy. But here, in these woods, surrounded by trees that blocked our view, we had no chance. The Germans knew it. They picked us off like hunters stalking prey. His breath grows ragged. I saw men I had trained, men who had bled for Rome, scream as they were dragged into the underbrush, never to be seen again. Others tried to stand their ground, to form a line, but the forest gave the Germans the advantage. They came at us from all sides, slipping through the trees as if they were part of the forest itself. He grimaces, remembering the moment when the legion's discipline cracked. Fear is a terrible thing. It spreads like fire, and once it takes hold, there is no stopping it. Men who had stood firm against the Parthians, who had faced the Gauls without flinching, now fled like animals. It was the rain, the mud, the trees, it was everything. We were unmade by the very land we had come to conquer. A longer pause this time, as the Centurion seems to recall the final hours of the doomed 17th Legion. "We try to make a stand," he says softly. "Around the standard, the proud eagle of Rome. It had been with us through countless victories, a symbol of the empire's might. If we could hold it, if we could just keep it standing, perhaps we could hold out until reinforcements arrived." But the Germans knew its value. They surrounded us, attacked us like wild dogs, hungry for the kill. His voice cracks with emotion. "We held them off as long as we could, but I watched as one of them, a giant of a man, rushed forward and ripped the eagle from the hands of the standard bearer. I saw the man. If you're enjoying this story, please remember to hit like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us continue creating content that educates and empowers. To learn more about South Africa's leading accessibility software and to support our dyslexic-friendly initiative, visit www.polispeaks4u.co.za. Thank you for watching.